So welcome to this session on Microsoft OneDrive, and I will just start with the statement of acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge this land that we meet on today is the traditional lands for Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. We also pay respects to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting and attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia present here. Now, I normally always give this tip. It doesn't work very well if you're on a mobile, but if you are trying to follow this on a laptop, for example, with one screen, there is a handy tip if you're using a Windows device. If you press the Windows key on your keyboard and the left or right arrow, that allows you to split your screen, which can be very handy because this is quite a hands-on session. So when we get into it, you can work alongside the Teams meeting. And with that, we might get straight into it. So just bear with me while I bring up the chat just in case you have messages. Please feel free to use the chat or to come off mute and ask away. And I am going to share my screen and we can get stuck into OneDrive. Okay, so OneDrive, what is it and how do you access it? So OneDrive is part of the Microsoft M365 suite of apps, and all staff and students in the department have access to the M365 apps. OneDrive is your cloud storage system. It's your portable hard drive that lives in the cloud. And you can access OneDrive through EdPass. So I'm in my browser in EdPass, and I can go into there. Or I'll just put the link if you're not sure. Or if you're using Edge, you can also access it from the side there and OneDrive here. So I'll just give you a moment to open a browser if you haven't got one open, and it might be tricky on your mobile phone, and open up OneDrive. Now, once you've done that, I'm just going to get Teams back up. If you can give me a virtual thumbs up with the reaction, or just type a yes in the chat, that would be great so I can see how you're going. Perfect. And Shona, you might have some trouble with this bit, but hopefully, excellent. Great. So I'm going to click on OneDrive here, and that's going to open up my home page for me. Now, you'll see down the bottom here that with OneDrive, you've got 1 terabyte of space. This is quite handy to see how much you've used. Normally 1 terabyte is more than enough to get people over the line. But if you do run out of space, you can open a ticket on the service desk to have that increased. In the home page, we've got some things that were recently opened. Now, these might not be ones that you've worked on. There might be other files that have been shared by you and shared with you, and someone else has opened them. And then you've got recent files that you've worked on as well down here. Over in the left, we've got this navigation menu. So the My Files section is the most important section, because this is where you can access all the files that you have saved in OneDrive. Now, if you've never used OneDrive before to save files and work on files in the cloud, you don't have the navigation menu. Are you using Have you gone to, can you check that you're in OneDrive, first of all? If you've got icons, it might be that your screen is too small to show them up. So you might just have to look for that file icon to get into your My Files. Okay, so if you've never used OneDrive before, you might find that this is completely blank. If you've accidentally been using OneDrive, so you might have opened up a file from Teams or a file's opened up in the web browser and you've clicked and saved it somewhere and not sure where it is, you might find it's popped up in here as well. Okay, we come back to this section in a moment. I'll just continue with this menu down the side for a moment. The shared file section here shows any files that you have shared or that have been shared with you. So you can see here, I shared this file with someone, but this one here doesn't live in my OneDrive, it lives in this team, so it's been shared with me. And Joan Clark shared this one with me as well. So that's quite handy if you know that someone shared a file with you, you can't remember what it was called, you can go in here and see if you can find it in here, and you can also search by shared by. So if I know it was Joan that shared that file, I can go in and find that file that way. The favorite section, that's if you've got a file that you're working on a lot, you can, in the My File section, you can save it or favorite it by clicking on the star, and then they show up here. And then the recycle bin, we go into a bit later, but that's where you can retrieve any files that you've deleted. You can also browse files by people. So again, these people have shared files with me. I can see any meetings that I've attended with my @schools email address, and then if there's any videos or files associated with those meetings. And then this is a new section that has just been released, the media one, which is quite handy because that puts all your image files or video files in one place for you to access. In the quick access section, these are all the teams that you belong to, or the teams that you belong to that you go into quite a bit. If you see a team here that you want to access the files of, but you can't see it here, if you click on more places, then you'll see all the teams that you're a member of down there as well. Any questions about this side, at the left side menu? Okay, so let's now click into the My Files, and we have a bit of a deeper dive into the My Files. So here are all the files that live in my OneDrive. And when we talk about OneDrive, we talk about files that are the me working files. So they're files that belong to me that I'm going to be working on. They're not files that I'm working with colleagues on. In particular, if I've got a file that I want to share with a colleague and we're going to be collaborating and working on that a lot, I would say that in Teams, they're the personal work files. But we can share them if we need to, but they should be files that belong to us. Over in the right, we've got some menus up here. I'll just close that down. So the details here is your activity. So you can see I shared this one yesterday and then I haven't done anything over the last month. This is my training account, so that's why it looks like I haven't been productive. But if you've been using OneDrive a lot, this activity flow will show up with a lot of information. This is quite handy because if you were working on a document, you've forgotten what it was called or where it was saved, you can use these to go and navigate to that document directly. Over here, you can change what the files look like. So the list is the view that's the default. Compact reduces the space. And tiles will give me a visual image. So that's quite handy as well. If you've got lots of documents and images mixed together, you can easily find your images by changing it from list, which is the default, to tiles. And then the last thing here is sort. So I can sort my files here. I can also do that by clicking on each of the headers in these categories that have an arrow down as well. Okay, so as I said, your space might look quite empty. So what we're going to go and do now is add something. So in the top left, you've got this add new button. And if you click on that, you see you've got some options. So what we're going to do to start off with is click on a folder. And then there's some really fun things you can do in Outlook. And I know teachers and SSOs and people that work in schools are quite hot on color coding things. So I can color code my files so that maybe all my files to do with my English program are in blue. So for this webinar, if you just create a folder, in fact, I'm going to call this one 2024 July, and then click on create. That one's going to come up here. Now, if I click back on that add new button, you'll see I've got some other options as well. So I can create a file directly in OneDrive from this add new, or I can upload files or upload folders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click into that folder that I've just created. And instead of doing an add new in here, the other way I can save or upload work is I can drag a file from my Explorer. So if you can't see the icon for your Explorer down the bottom, another way you can bring that up is the keyboard shortcut of the Windows key and E. I've just got my pictures folder here, and I want to save this image into this new folder that I've created. So I can simply click and drag, and that image is now going to be saved online in the cloud. This means that wherever I have internet access or access to a web browser, I can go in and access this file. I don't need my physical computer anymore. I can access it from any machine anywhere. If you have managed to create a folder and drag one file across, can you just give me a reaction thumbs up or type in the chat? Thanks, Annie. Excellent. Okay. So the next really good thing about OneDrive is you've got something called version history. And what this does is it allows me to go back and recover a different version of a file I'm working on. So this is particularly good if you have a student come up to you who been working on their assignment, and they open it up to hand in and the page is blank. Hopefully they've saved it in their OneDrive, and then they can go back and recover the previous version. Cherie, have you got a question? Feel free to type or come off mute. It might just have been a hand up. Okay. So, oh, good. So version history, I'm just going to go back one level to my files again and show you one that I've had a few people look at this one. So if I go in to the file or hover over the file, and you can do this with the one that you've just put in. If I hover, I get some information about this file, so I can see that there was 2 different people that have looked at it, and it's been opened 3 times. But if I click on those 3 dots now, and I go to version history, then I can see that this file has actually been saved 5 different times. And if this version here was the blank one, and I was panicking because I'd done all this work, I could go into version 4, click on the 3 dots, and click on restore. Now that doesn't delete this version here, version 5. So if I restore the wrong version, that's absolutely fine. It just creates another version, and I think you can have something like 300 versions or more of the files. So there's a lot of version revision you can have. So I can go in and recover the version, and then when I open it up, it will be the same as this one. That's really handy. Now, sometimes you might get an error come up, which says that you can't restore that version. What that might be is that it might be that someone else has got that file open, and it won't let you restore a version when someone else is working in that file. So if that's the case, just check that no one else has the file open, and then you can restore. Now, I talked about hovering over those 3 dots, and I could see that several people had looked at this. That's because this particular file I've shared. So I'm just going to go in and go back into my folder that I created. And I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to show you how to share this. So I'm just going to add new. I'm going to just create a Word document. It's going to open up in Word Online, and I'm just going to rename it up here as 2024 OneDrive training. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it so that we can share this document. Now, that document's open in here. If I refresh it, you can see that it's been renamed. And then I want to share this. So to share a document or a file, I can share this picture file as well, directly within Teams. Again, I hover over that team name. I can choose this shortcut, but I'm going to go to the 3 dots and click on Share Here. Now this opens up a pop-up, and I've got several options. Now, if I just want one person to share this file, so I might want to share it with you, Annie, I can type your name or your email in there. And then I can click down here, and I've got some options. So I can make it that Annie could edit, view but can't download, or just suggest changes, so make comments. But if I want to share this with more than just Annie, I might not want to put in all these email addresses. So in that case, I can click on this little cog down here, and then I've got a whole range of other options. So in this case, I'm going to click the people in the Department for Education. And that means that the link that I'm about to share with you, anyone with an @schools email address can access this. Again, I'm going to check my settings. So I'm going to make it can edit. And this is a new function as well. I can set an expiration. So if I want this link to be dead in a month, I can set that and then click apply. Now I can copy that link, and if I paste that into the chat, everyone in this meeting, and if you shared it with other people as well, if you click on that, it would open it up in your browser. I might just get you to click and open that file. Because we've saved it on in OneDrive, when we go in, if other people have opened that, doesn't look like anyone has quite yet, we should be able to see them up the top and we should be able to work together. Yep, I can see Annie's in there and I can see where she's got her cursor. This can be problematic if you're, for instance, wanting your whole class to work in a document in OneDrive at the same time, because you can see both Annie and Sarah have got their cursor in the same spot. So if you are working in a file in OneDrive as with a bunch of people, the most sensible thing to do is to insert a table and then have people work in rows in a table. Otherwise, you'll get people typing over the top of each other. Okay, so I can see that several people have accessed this file, which is great. I can close it down, doesn't mean that it kicks you out. And now if I hover over those 3 dots, once I refresh my page, I can see that it's had 4 different people view it 5 times. So that's very handy to know about. Now, say I've saved this and I've shared it, and then I've realized that I've shared the wrong document. I didn't want everyone to be able to access this. What I can do is I can go in and remove that link so that it no longer works. So again, if I go to the 3 dots, I can go down to something called Manage Access. Now in here, again, I see the people that have accessed the files. If I've shared it with a group, in this case, a Microsoft team, I'd see that in there. And then I've got this tab called Links. This is where I can copy that same link if I wanted to, but if I realize I've made a mistake, I can delete it, or I can go in. I can't edit this, so I just delete it. And then if people now came out of that document and tried to go back in, that link no longer works. So that's quite handy that you can check who has access, and then if you need to, you can remove access. Any questions on sharing files and folders? I guess the most important thing when you share is checking that you selected the right option here as well. So make sure if you want people to collaborate, you click the Can Edit and that pencil icon is showing. Or if you want them just to view and be able to download, it's got that eye icon. Okay, any questions? What I might get you to do now, if you haven't already, I'll just give you a minute or so to go in and create a link yourself. If you want to create a blank document and share the link in the chat, that would be great, because then we can check that you've put the settings in. So again, if you want to create a blank document, it's just add new Word document, which will open it up in Word Online. To rename, you can go up to the top left and rename it. And then you can share it from here, but I'm going to close it, go back into my OneDrive, refresh my screen, and then 3 dots, share, settings cog, change it to people in the department, and change it to Can Edit Apply. Yep, that's perfect, Shani. Okay, you might get people share files with you, and then you can't edit them. It's probably because they forgot to change those settings, or they share a file and you click on it and you can't access it. Again, it's probably that they've just copied the link without sharing it correctly. Okay, So the next bit we're going to have a look at is, this is our online version of OneDrive, but you can also do something called syncing OneDrive, which means you can access any of your files that you've got in OneDrive from your File Explorer on the desktop. So that's really handy. You can see here I've got Abigail department here. So I can go in and access any of these files that I've saved in my OneDrive in the cloud from File Explorer, and when I open them, they're going to open in my desktop apps automatically. Now in here, you can see there's a few different symbols showing up in the status column. This cloud symbol means that it's synced and in the cloud. It's not actually downloaded to my device at the moment. This one here with a circle means it's on my device. So there might be a file that I work with all the time, so this one here, that I want to be able to access even if I don't have an internet connection. And so this way, if I right click and go, right click and go always keep on this device, you'll see I will upload to the cloud, and then I'll be able to access this even if I don't have internet access. And when I have internet access again, it will merge those changes. So how do I sync my OneDrive so that I can access it from File Explorer? Well, back in the browser, I'm in OneDrive. I can go to the settings cog up the top. And there I've got the option that says sync this OneDrive. So when I click on that, now I won't do it right now, but if you click on that, it will sync it to your computer. And then when you open File Explorer, it will show up in the side there with your name and then Department for Education. Now, if you're a corporate user, you might find that you've got two cloud icons because you might have synced your SA.gov as well as your @schools email. Okay, now the recycle bin. I created this document and say I want to delete it. It's deleted. If I've deleted it by mistake, I can go into the recycle bin and then I can go in here and restore it. And when I click restore, it's going to restore it to the same place where it was deleted from. There it is there. You've got 30 days to retrieve files from your recycle bin. If you've synced your OneDrive and you delete files from the synced version of OneDrive, they come into your recycle bin as well, and you can retrieve them from there as well. After 30 days, if you discover you've deleted something that is crucial, you have another 60 days where the service desk can retrieve those files. So just be aware that they are only saved for 90 days before they're deleted. Okay, now the last bit we're going to look at, and I reckon we've gone through in record time today, is how can I save things to OneDrive directly. So we've looked at creating a file directly in OneDrive. We've looked at dragging and dropping a file from your File Explorer, but you can also, providing you've got M365 and not Office, from your desktop app, save a file directly to OneDrive. So I've opened up Word, and this is a blank document. At the moment, you can see up here the autosave is off. That means that at the moment it's just saving, if I click on save, to my local machine. But I want to save this to the cloud so that I can access it anytime from anywhere. So I'm going to click on File and go Save. And you'll notice here, I've got these two options here under Department for Education. Sites is Teams, because behind Teams is something called SharePoint Sites. And then OneDrive is my department OneDrive. So I can click in OneDrive and then I can save this file directly into my OneDrive, and then I can access it from any device anywhere. You'll notice now that that up the top has changed to autosave, and I've got that icon that says it's automatically saving all the time. So again, if you're opening a file up and you see this autosave and that file saving all the time icon, chances are that it's saved either in OneDrive or in Teams. Now, if you don't see those options in there, it might mean that you're not using Word for M365. So just have a chat with your site tech to see if you can get M365 on your device. Okay, so I think that just about brings us to the end of the overview that I wanted to cover. Are there any questions before I finish off with further resources? Please feel free to come off mic or type in the chat. Is it M365? So M365, Microsoft 365 is the version of Office that updates all the time. You'll see the icons down here, if you don't have M365, will look slightly different to mine. And you won't have, if you don't have M365, you might not have the same icons up the top there. Yeah, okay. Okay, so what can I do and where can I go if I want to explore more about OneDrive? Luckily for us, Microsoft has a great website called Microsoft Learn, and that allows you to do all sorts of training. If you haven't already, we do recommend that you sign in with your @school's email address, and then that way you can track your progress. There's a special section in here called the Educator Centre with professional development, which is for people in schools. So it's well worth going in here and having a look. In the professional development section, if you browse all, there's a whole lot of different learning paths. So if we put in OneDrive and search, this course here has some sections on OneDrive in it. You'll notice it says 6 hours, but you don't have to do the whole 6 hours. You can pick and choose. You also get a certificate from or a transcript from Microsoft, so you can use that to support your teacher registration. We have a YouTube channel, which we update with different how-to videos. Most of them are pretty short, apart from our webinar recordings. And there's a playlist that is directly about OneDrive. So you can have a look at different things to do with OneDrive or Microsoft Teams from that playlist. And I'll drop that playlist in the chat. Hopefully, I might send that out after. And then finally, you can have a look on Blink because we often do courses under the Microsoft 365. And so you can see what's going on. And the last bit I'm going to bring up is that we also, if you haven't already joined, have an M365 support and collaboration team. This team has got lots of people from all over the department. And if you've got questions about anything to do with Microsoft, you can pop them in here and someone, whether it's someone from my team or someone from across the department, will hopefully be able to answer your questions.